Hi, it's Susan from Worldpeacefull, and today I felt inspired to read one of my poems that I wrote quite a long time ago, which I think really moves us towards the heart of why we're in imbalance across the world. So I'll read it to you and you can decide what you think about it. It's called Eve is a New Era. This is a poem dedicated to all men, for you are trailblazing. A bushfire that is unstoppable, that is on the warpath, that has forgotten the steam bath is for contemplation. The patriarch is the monarch, the matriarch is the patron. Who presides over the tribe? She is the decision maker, for she must lead the children home, for the home is in the heart. It will never be found in the terror of a battle cry. For those battle-hardened have lost touch, have lost feeling, have been taught to hate. For this is not a word in my language. For the language of peace knows only peace treaties. This is a world where boys are taught to nurture. They are allowed to cry. For to feel is to be human. Men have always followed woman. For women give birth to life itself. Women know the pain of separation. The umbilical cord is not biblical. Women are the caretakers of the next generation. This is a smoke signal. This is a warning to humanity. For the flames are burning out of control. The globe is warming. Nature is turning in on itself. For man is at war with himself. For in a time of great confusion, man has lost his center. At this stage, he is losing balance. Woman is kept behind for protection. For weakness is in the droplets of tears. For she knows what it is to walk in his moccasins. She sees his turmoil, yet his deepest reflection flows down the river of real compassion. Matriarchy is not a state of control. It is governed by relationships, guided by values. For only the wise value time as knowledge. Each stage has a name, recognized by unique traits. You live up to your namesake. For God's sake, you value respect. For rights are inalienable, not granted. For real connection is in principle. This is the mainstream, not a backwater. The wisdom circle is encircled by blossoms. For each is a flower, a seed of life, a universal knowledge that germinates in the wise ones. She is watching you quietly. She is nurturing the child in you. She will never harm you or another. For high self-esteem is to love your nature. And you are the nature that is wild and free, that only knows one mother. For family are friends, and friends are family. A name is only spoken to those unknown. The feather of truth is peace. For the peace pipe is shared together. How can one refuse another? For rejection is fear. Resentment rises from the ashes. As the fire burns down and one is encircled by darkness. A loving family gives love without condition. For the conditions are always right. The word no is unknown. Ownership is possession. For one is never repressed. A mistake is met with healing. For the medicine man is a woman of great love. For this is the real knowledge. I'll read that again. For the medicine man is a woman of great love. For this is the real knowledge. And the greatest medicine loves to know you are happy. And this is what the world is needing. This is what the world is craving. The people are tired of war and famine. The people are tired of work without compassion. The people long to sit around the fire, to sing and dance, to dance with wolves, to rain dance. For romancing the stone brings new life. To belong to a tribe and find a wife. When one is steady, when one has learned to respect, when one can finally reflect on his path. For the season of reason is when he is ready. The rite of passage is the passage of what is right. And these are universal rights of man. To be at the right-hand side of woman is a privilege, not a right. To be loved by a woman, he has earned the right to return to the village as a man. For it is only when man finds woman, when the feminine meets the masculine, that the balance of peace finds justice. For the scales of truth is the balancing point of woman. She holds the scale steady. She closes her eyes to evil. This is the fold in the blind. She speaks not of an enemy. Only the young boy lost and confused. But she is listening to the serpent. And this is a symbol of wisdom, not temptation. This is the natural voice within, for she is receptive. Have you forgotten your mythology? The matriarch leads with insight, for power is not dominance. Power allows life to flow, allows each to grow, nurtures the heart so that you know to stay below in humility. For this is the true humanity that is the lost civilization. Atlantis was a civilization that was lost in time. Life was never meant to be hardship. It is a friendship we all seek. And this can only be found in mutual respect. Equality and deep reflection. This will be the new election. This will be an election for peace. For we will elect peace. We will choose love. We will practice joy. For there are many feathers of truth. Which hat do you wear? Is it a headdress that shows your colours? Or the mask that hides the face? For truth must be worn as a feather. The earth is your mother of pearl, and it's time to recollect the hidden value, to collect together the berries and the fruit from the forest, to recognize Eve is the new era, for she will protect the children and give her last breath. This is her bond, for the new age comes home early. This is her pledge to the eagle that circles, for she will awaken as she stands at the edge, as the last tree falls. Only she knows that a child can't eat money. And the love of money will never bring you home to the last frontier. Just trying to recall when I wrote that. I'll just see if I can find a date. 2008, I wrote that. Essentially, there is a great imbalance between men and women. There's certainly a different worldview projected by both. I can see that very clearly. When you feel very deeply, you really can sort of feel the contour of life in greater depth. It is not to avoid the feeling state, it is actually to embrace it. Many have been taught to suppress what they feel. And what that does, it blocks off our natural ability to feel other people. And this is where empathy arises. If you like the flower from the seed. The seed is the virtues of humanity in truth. I often say in my videos, we're here to love each other. This is not a sort of a romanticized statement. What I know is that from that energy of love, and I've experienced it in just about every way. Certainly as a clown, I got to experience it in a, if you like, informal way, where I was able to love strangers very, very easily. And I really felt it. It wasn't just being a happy face. I really felt the love of all the people, and I still do. I mean, I walk around and I talk to lots of people, and I feel the love, and, you know, they must sense in me a genuineness towards them, because always response happens. That's how I know love is the energy of unity on our planet. What I've tried to convey here in this poetry is the masculine's been suppressed and the masculine has expressed through violence. That is not to say that women don't do that as well. They do. I've seen and witnessed the verbal aggression of women, and also dominance of mothers and wives. So those elements of control, if you like, exist in both genders, in both sexes, I should say. But within the feminine, it is an energy, and as I've said in other work that I've done, the feminine and the masculine exist in both males and females. So when you favour one or the other, it changes how you see the world. Because I've shifted from, if you like, a left brain logical approach when I was working as an analyst and an economist. My mind was constantly focusing on analytics, going deep into data and really assessing it. But I do recall having a shift in my own life, and it definitely moved towards the feminine, and that's when I became a clown. The clown, in many respects, became a channel for a higher love, to sort of demonstrate to people their value that is unconditional. I feel very strongly about unconditional love. I don't see it as a romantic anything. It's romantic in a sense has really got nothing to do with love. It's more to do with people seeking to behave in a way in order to gain some form of attention, to feel good about themselves. That's the way I see it. Certainly I'm up for discussion if people see it differently. I see the highest love as freedom. I don't see it as possession of anything. When you truly love yourself, you wouldn't need another person to complete you. You should be complete within yourself. I see this as the goal of humanity, is to learn how to love itself. Unfortunately, we come into this world and there's a lot of negativity, a lot of shoulds and shouldn'ts. It's a lot of conditional love projected onto people to say, if you don't do this, I won't love you. If you don't do this, I won't employ you. If you don't write this, I won't mark you, and give you a pass. You have to conform to that paradigm that's in existence prior to your birth. In my work as a clown, I don't even see it as work actually, in my expression as a clown, I've been fortunate to experience stepping beyond those formalized constructs or boundaries. So I've had the privilege, if you like, of looking into the eyes of others and seeing my common humanity with them. And in fact, the sense of self disappears. You know, I've talked about the attention that clowns get, but I don't mean it in the sense of an egoic attention in my case. In some other clowns, it's definitely that. But for me, it's been about joining with other people by being the example of love. And it's very easy to look at people without a condition, you know, and accept them for who they are. And I find as a clown I can do it a lot easier. If I walk the streets as I am now, the issues of sexuality can come into it, as men or women or people will evaluate you on the basis of how you look. As a clown, I'm often seen as a clown, and I like that because there's a neutrality around it. They recognise the archetype of that clown, and they would resonate in respect of regarding you as a person generating happiness. And when you simply see in that way, all gender drops away. And that is a really beautiful thing. I start to feel that sense of family with everyone. For me, friendship is a given. It's not something I'm terribly selective about. I'm friends with everyone in truth. But I accept when that doesn't reciprocate, that's okay too. You know, we are all on a journey. And for me, it's about unity. For others, it might be about something else. For whatever the reason, my life has taken me down this trajectory of peace. And it feels right for me to do this work. And I see peace as a joining. It's not a compromise and it's not an appeasement. It's a joining with everything. That's why I've often referred to the work of Byron Katie. You know, her work is about loving what is. It's not a condoning of the negative elements in the world or, you know, the various complexions of men and women. It's actually about questioning the thoughts which create, if you like, the channel for directing love or discord towards people. My work is very much about learning to undo what I've been taught and to see without a story. I see my work in service to others. And I understand, you know, predominantly where they're at, although I'm open to learning as well. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm working on it because what I'm seeing around the world is this great polarity happening. And of course, I'm seeing people who aren't questioning their own stories and they're locked in positions of power over others. And we have very voluminous stories around economics. And we've often associated that with our own security. It's very much a masculine paradigm. It's a logical, linear approach to consumption and production. And in truth, I think in its initial stages, it was a logical process to go down. You know, it's a path that has worked. You know, we've been able to create societies and infrastructure, manufacturing, trade. We've utilised resources in order to manufacture these things. But there is a cost that we're paying today, and we can see it in the climate. In my poetry, I'm trying to reflect in many respects the paradigm of the masculine, which has been conflict-based. This is the nature of power over. And in a way, men have been kind of forced down this pathway because they've not been given permission to express their emotions. It's been seen as unprofessional or weak, makes them feel vulnerable. But in reality, it's actually a portal to greater self-understanding. And once you understand yourself, then you can actually step in the shoes of others and begin to understand the other. And this is what brings communities together, is the actual reunification, if you like, of the masculine and the feminine. And of course, wisdom comes through a real focus on truth and experience and learning from the experience, making a wise decision that's not just about one's own self, but takes into consideration how that will impact what is the fruit from these decisions. I talk about Eve in the Garden of Eden, really. I sometimes use Christian mythology in my poetry. I don't actually intend to, and I haven't had a Christian upbringing, but it seems to come to me. You know, you see that sort of imagery of the serpent in the garden. Now, when I travelled to South America and Central America, I saw many, many statues of serpents in the Mayan mythology. It was very interesting. And if you look into dragons and mythologies around snakes, they're all very similar, there's a wisdom associated with that, sort of that silent whispering. And within the feminine, there is a wisdom. You know, I've heard many women speaking, and they've done it very tough. I think raising children in this culture is extremely hard. It's very atomized, in that we are in tiny cells, either of a very micro family or the nuclear family, as it's called, or single parent families where there's so much separation and coming together, and this pulls children apart, and, you know, they're not getting this consistency, you know, of passing knowledge from adults to children. They're getting lots of different knowledge. They're also being hooked up to technology, which is disconnecting them further from each other. So this masculine and feminine idea is not just a wishful statement, it's actually a necessity if we're going to have peace on the planet. The feminine and the masculine have to come together. There has to be some sort of growth through the differences rather than a suppression of differences. There has to be an acceptance of it. It's not about forcing people to see your way, it's about understanding there are many ways to see. And once this happens, it has a definite impact on the next generation. This generation that's growing up now, they have real issues they're going to be facing in the future. And if they're not rounded, functional human beings, if they're exhibiting anxiety and mental health issues because of the constant criticism, negativity, and disconnection, if they're witnessing parents that aren't in harmony, and not seeing them learn how to resolve conflict. The resolution of conflict is absolutely essential for the future of humanity. I'm a great believer in conflict resolution, where we own our part, take responsibility and share it. The old paradigm of power over others to control in order to create what can be perceived as security. It's a false security, but it's perceived as security when you force others to conform to what you're wanting. This has been predominantly in the masculine. I have seen it in mothers as well, so it does express there too. But in its most balanced perspective, I guess, the masculine supports the feminine in order to raise children. And my sort of vision of it is they come together as equal partners in that raising of children, and they must work on their inner issues. Otherwise, the children take it on and they will bring it into the next generation and their own children. You know, these things come up from generation to generation. So my great-grandparents' generation would have passed certain characteristics on to the next, and I will be exhibiting those. We're all very much a reflection of the mix of relationships that we've been raised with. That's why sitting down and really resolving conflict is absolutely essential if we're going to have a world that continues. It's to no longer see an enemy out there, but to see a problem to be solved. If you're feeling angry, or you're feeling hatred, then you've got to look at how you're hurting inside and transform that. Something within you is not healed. That's why I talk in the poem about healing. It's very, very important that we get used to the words healing. It's not a mystical term. It's simply healing misconceptions. Because when you heal, you feel good. When you touch on truths, you feel good. When you see things working in harmony, you feel good, because that's the natural order of things. When you feel good, you know you're in harmony, and that is the feather of truth that I mentioned in the poetry. We all have our own feather of truth, and I guess I extend mine to you with love and freedom and no charge. That's why I'm doing videos, because I want to give my message to people coming from my own sense of truth and love. So with this video, my wish and vision is for the unification of women and men, men and women, and that they heal this discord, that they no longer fight but start to work on understanding those differences and come into a state of kindness and empathy. Those two virtues will have a profound impact on the next generation. And we need to empower this next generation. They need to become very resilient in order to cope with climate changes and the economic collapses that are coming. There's no question about those things. But inherent within this changing paradigm are new ways of seeing, new growth, new technologies, as we learn from our mistakes in the past. And we utilize that knowledge and formulate a new form of wisdom that unifies the whole of humanity. That is my wish that I give to you. So I send you love and peace and a Merry Christmas. May all your dreams come true. Thanks for listening. Bye.